Welcome back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Pacino, and I'm incredibly excited to have my good friend Taylor Ballantyne on the line with us again. Taylor, how are you?
I am great. How are you?
Oh, so fucking good. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Dude, I'm so excited to be back. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me.
So,
So fun.
rumor has it you've got some big life experiences coming up in the next 48 hours, and I'm just wondering, like, how's life been the last 7 or 8 months since we last got on the pod and chatted?
Since we yeah, rumor has it correct. The last 7 or 8 months honestly have been a challenge. It's just been getting adjusted into a new city, finding balance between all the things that I want to work on personally, trying to expand my business, looking at areas of my business where I'm like, yeah, I've grown out of this I've grown out of this piece. I want to expand it in this direction. And it's intimidating. Like it's a really big commitment for me personally to go, okay, that thing that we've been doing for over a decade, we're now going to expand it and move into this direction. So we can't do that thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, it's really challenging because it just, it just means actually having to vocalize to people, hey, this is the direction that I want. And they might not view me that way. And I might not get work with those people anymore. Or I might, I don't know, or they might,
I'm
it's
super
such, it's such a challenge.
I'm super curious if there's like a natural progression for photographers to inevitably end up as a cat out of the bag feature film director. So I'm super curious if, because like oddly enough, at the end of this month, I'm going to be directing my first music video, which in a million years I never would have thought I was doing.
Yes.
But you're going to be directing a
Yes.
fucking movie. So do you think there is
I'm
some
directing
sort
my
of
first feature.
a natural progression
Yeah.
in terms of like a creative's career that like inevitably people end up in these places?
I can't speak for everybody, but I can say for myself that photography was never going to be enough for me.
Mm.
And I think I knew that going into it. And I knew it because as I advanced within photography and grew within photography and my interest kept switching, especially like the genres of my interest, when it went from, okay, let's make this about fashion. Fashion is the only thing I care about. Okay, now it's music. Okay, now it's everybody. Now it's every type of person. Now it's documentary. Now it's sports. Now it's stories within. It just kept growing and expanding. And I got to a point where I'm like, I don't, 8 pages in a spread is not enough time to tell the story I want to tell.
Mm.
And so I think it kind of found me, but I think the process of starting the way that I did and growing into this, that natural progression, I think has taught me so much about myself, my business, my creative, my voice, how to build a business, how to expand it now up into this direction. Cause it's, my dad always said, as you get older, the stakes get higher. And I'm like, what does that mean? And now I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh,
oh
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like, yeah, this was just a natural progression for me. I think some people, like, I never got to expand my photography career in certain areas that I really thought it would go, as far as fashion photography and, shooting spreads for Vogue and having every cover. I never
Mm-hmm.
did that.
Yeah.
I did something else. I did my covers and stuff for SI, and I did documentary, and I did a lot of advertising and commercial work, but I didn't, and I directed commercials and did really cool pieces and stuff like that. But it always kind of started moving into video and storytelling and narrative. It just kind of happened that way.
Yeah. I think that's so fucking cool. And one of the sort of joys that I've uncovered is, like, it's funny. I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, I was on a podcast and I was telling I had a photographer on, and I was like, yeah, I have absolutely zero interest in video. I was like, I'm never going to do a video. I'm never going to be a director. I'm never going to do like, I hate it. Like, I just, the process of editing a video, I was like, I don't want to fucking have anything to do with it. And then someone was like, hey, do you want to direct a music video? And I was like, shit.
It is a pain
I'm not
in the
going to
ass,
say,
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not going to say no, right? Like, I'm not going to say no to work. And then now
you can't say no to that.
I know. Now it seems like an inevitable.
But here's the thing, though. If you try it, right, and maybe it doesn't feel the way you think it's going to feel, you don't know. It's like if you have the experience, you might fall in love with it, or you might be like, you know what, this isn't for me, and it'll, it's your career will expand in whatever direction it's supposed to, and but it's all based on what you care about and what your interests are. I mean, bottom line is, if you don't like doing it,
don't do it.
Don't do it. I mean, because whatever you do and something you don't like, it's going to suck.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Welcome.
So,
we could talk about the context of that in my love life for hours. I'm super curious how.
It's a solid personal analogy.
Yeah. I'm super curious how, you're within a couple days of leaving your house to go on location and start this feature, and I'm sort of wondering like what's going on inside of you, as like, are you have feelings of imposter syndrome? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you like, what is like bubbling in the surface right now for you?
Panic, sheer panic. No, literally everything you just said is exactly what's happening to me. Excitement, imposter syndrome, I've got this, to what am I doing, you idiot, to all the all the range of emotion. But no, actually it's but all in all, I've been in pre-production for the last 2 to 3 months.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
There's been a ton of planning. There's been a lot of anticipation getting to this moment. And this is a really good shoe-in for me, for this to be my first feature. I am so lucky on multiple accounts. One, it's a concert film that is expanding into a bunch of other things that we get to do. It's not just this one piece. There's so many other things that will come out of this, that I'm so excited to share with everybody. There's a lot of jam-packed extra pieces that we're doing. So it's a really special project in that regard. It's also with one of my dearest friends that I've known for over a decade, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and he is an unbelievable, incredible blues musician, prodigy blues guitarist. Since he was 16 years old is when he basically started his career. And we're celebrating his second album, Trouble Is, which is the 25th anniversary of this second album, and arguably one of, the most iconic blues records out there. And we're filming it in the place that they actually had the original record release party. Ooh. At the Strand Theater in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is his hometown. So it is going to be like, the energy is going to be next level, because the hometown is unbelievably elated that this guy is coming and doing this. And it's a benefit concert. We're supporting incredible organizations. We're supporting the Northwest Louisiana Justice Center, and the Providence House, which is a homeless shelter for families.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, yeah, it's going to be an incredible night. And they sold out that show in literally 3 days. Less than. We put the tickets up and gone. Sweet. And it's a pretty big, it's a pretty decent theater.
No,
it's
a
like
big size.
1,500 people.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. So,
and
sold out right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also doing a lot. So the show is coming up this weekend, and then we're also filming for a live stream, which will air February 20th. So everybody can watch the concert on February 20th if you can't do it in person. But it's exciting. It's a lot of pieces in the air. It's kind of a culmination for me of taking everything that I've learned in commercial and advertising and editorial and print and documentary and short narrative, and just multiplying it by 10 and going, okay, we've dealt with this, but now we're just dealing with more people, more personalities. And so it's really been a real challenge and practice for me of patience and going, you know what? This is your first time doing this in this realm. And you have to, like there are times where I'll get out of like production meetings. And I'm like, oh, why did I say that? Or man, I should have said that. Or, oh man, I got to figure out a way to do this or that better. And I'm like, you know what? Just relax.
Yeah.
This is this is a whole new world you're exploring. Be as patient with with yourself as you can. And this is trial by fire. And I have been really lucky in my career to have my lessons that I need to learn that are trial by fire lessons in, in an area that is pretty successful. I mean, or they're successful. So it's like, I get to kind of try this out on somebody that's already successful.
Yeah. Right. Well, plus you've done enough.
For me.
Yeah. I was gonna say also, you've done enough in your career where you feel confident in yourself to be able to deliver these things, right? I would imagine there's obviously the trepidation of when someone asks you to do something you've never done before and you're like, well, fuck, never thought about that, but fuck yeah, I'll do it. Like, I feel like at least in my own skin as a creative, like when someone asks me to do something I've never done before, my first thing is like, can I do this? And then it's like one side of my brain is saying, absolutely not, you can't do this. And then the other side is like, yeah, sure, go for it. Who the fuck cares? Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. And I'm like, that is definitely where I'm at. Like, I'm like, is this something I'm like, what, can I really do this? Like, what am I thinking? Like, literally this morning I woke up and I'm like, is this happening?
How have you been sleeping?
Who agreed to let me do this? Like,
how
on and off. Good. Some nights great, and some nights very restless. I think it's the buildup, and as I'm getting closer, and there's a lot of scheduling that's also going to be a really big challenge within this. That's the other piece of this whole puzzle is the scheduling. We've got we're a big part of the project is we're going to be speaking to a lot of people that were, a part of the making of this incredible record 25 years ago and have been a part of Kenny's life for a very long time. And so, it's going to be really interesting to, have all those people in the same room, which they all maybe haven't been in the same room in a really long time. So to have all that energy collectively and kind of balance that and schedule everybody out and make sure we get to hear from everybody. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it all unfolds.
I'm super curious what goes into, from a creative perspective, like, a feature film is a lot, right? So in terms of like gear selection, in terms of like team selections, like you're the CEO of this project in essence. So I'm super curious, like how, when you were presented with this opportunity, like where your head went from, like pragmatically in terms of like what you needed to accomplish before you get there, obviously on Wednesday.
Well, first things first, when I was presented this project, it was for Kenny's dad, Ken Shepherd, Mr. Ken Shepherd. We all call him Big Papa. And it's actually really cool because Kenny and Ken have been paired as a father-son duo team in this business ever since he started his career. So they have managed they have managed to keep their relationship intact and have this incredible business partnership, which, I have a similar creative relationship with my parents. So it's
that's awesome.
I understand it. Yeah. And it's, and I understand its challenges and it's great helps in a lot of ways. But it's interesting. But anyhow, he's the one that brought me the project, and I was talking to him and he was like, okay, this is what we want to do. We've tried to attempt something like this before, but then COVID and everything changed. So he was able to say, okay, here are some people that we can start to call and, put feelers out. But the first thing I did was call my manager and speak to a producer so we could actually get a budget together and then start shopping for production companies. And for me, looking for the right production company, it really there are so many great production companies that I've had the honor of working with, or I'm on their roster as a director, or that I've just had great experiences with, on one-off projects. But it always just depends on what the project is, what the budget is, what we're actually going to be able to pull off, because doing what we're doing of this size it's a lot, and it's a
Hmm.
big theater, and shooting in a theater. The first time my first music video was in a theater. And that was with Kelly Clarkson and Jay Coote. And we had a we had a skeleton crew, because it was also COVID as well. So we had a skeleton crew of maybe 4 or 5 people,
Hmm.
on the actual camera crew, and maybe 1 or 2 others running around. So, and being in a theater, everything is as far away as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is about being in a theater and going, yeah, man, we're all gonna be in one room. It's not gonna be a big deal. No,
Yeah.
like, it is a football field.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
Well,
crazy.
it's meant for
I'm like,
people to watch and not for people to like record.
I'm going to tell you what, that was really, really challenging. And I did not expect that at all. So now, kind of being back in this theater and shooting in a theater before, I'm like, okay. I mean, obviously we're going to have like 5 or 6 we're probably going to have actually closer to 7 or 8 cameras,
Cool.
to cover this whole thing. But, so we actually ended up going with an incredible production company called L2 Productions, that's based in Austin. And this is what they do. They do concert films. They do a lot of big sporting events. They cover a lot of TV broadcasts for sports, music. But they have a really, really unique system that actually saved us a lot on budget, which is a remote option, which kind of made me uncomfortable in the beginning a little bit, because I was like, wait a minute, so you're going to be remoting back all this footage. Somebody's going to be back there on a switchboard. How am I going to be able to implement, like, how I want to do all of this? So, but technology is pretty incredible and amazing. So, and I like have to, I've found out throughout this process, I think I am a little bit more of an analog gal than I thought I was.
Yeah.
Like, I like things simple, and I like things like, that
Physically
I can touch
in
and
your
feel
hand.
and see,
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm physically in my hand. So this is like a little bit of a stretch. But it's crazy, because they don't have to bring out a bunch of massive trucks and wire a building for 2 days. And it probably saves the production, 30 to 40 grand. I mean, it's like,
Wow.
it is a giant savings to be able to have everything remote. And, that just means we have, a bigger team, and more walkie-talkies and more video monitors, so that we can all communicate and be able to pull it off. But, it really ends up helping, especially when there's, at a venue like this, if you can keep, at an event like this, if you can keep your setup somewhat
Compact,
scaled
yeah.
back, it's easier. It's much easier.
Mm.
And I've always kind of operated that way. I'm like, I mean, it's unavoidable in certain areas. You got to have what you need. But I like to, what I can do with 6 lights, if I can do it with 3, I'll bring 3.
Mhm.
That's kind of always been my mentality within photography, within video, within everything. It's just simple. So let's simplify it so that we can stay mobile, because a lot of my creative style is, I like to have that mobility and that freedom.
Mm.
So if you have a couple of great, steady shots, then throw somebody on a gimbal and let them run around like crazy. I mean, that's the stuff, man. So,
Yeah. I'm super curious. So from a actual physical, what you're going to be doing while you're there, are you going to be sort of like behind the scenes? Are you physically holding a camera? Like, what does that process look like for you as the director of this film?
I'm gonna have a phone attached to my head. I'm gonna have like a walkie-talkie, essentially. There's this amazing app that actually I didn't know about, and I think it's called. Wait a minute, it's called Unity.
Okay.
If anybody doesn't know about this is magic. So this app is called Unity, and you can create a bunch of different channels, and essentially it's like all through Wi-Fi, and you can talk to anybody. And especially for big productions, music, concerts, movies, whatever. Unity, it's really, really cool. But anyway, I'll be attached to that, talking to everybody. But what it looks like for me is I'm going to be working with, we have load in on, so this is our schedule. This is how it goes. We've got load in on Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday are going to be our big shoot days. We might be shooting some pickup stuff on Thursday. So for me, it's going to be working with the film. We have a couple of different film crews that are split for different reasons. And so I'll just kind of I'll be
In
with
charge.
them. I'll be attached. I'll be attached to the hip with whatever DP that I'm working with. If it's the stage crew where we are rehearsing for the actual shots, the sweeping shots that are close to the stage, we're going to be, I'll be there. Then we'll have to be up top. We got a drone. We're going to be flying a drone around a lot of places. We're going to be doing pickup shots, B-roll. We're going to be talking to a lot of people. So there's a lot of stuff that we are getting, not just this concert film. There's going to be a lot of other stuff that that comes along with this. So there's like 5 or 6 different things that are going to be going on at once. So I'm going to be jumping around pretty much for each one and overseeing that process. So it'll be jam packed. It'll definitely be a wild couple of days.
In terms of pressure, there's a live performance portion that is going to be sort of like a one-shot take, right? You don't have an opportunity to fuck it up, right? How does that make you feel?
Correct. I kind of love it because I have my training has been in journalism and in documentary and in storytelling, from that perspective where you got to show up. You got to have the instinct to be in the right place at the right time and execute no matter what. And if you fuck it up, you fuck it up. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And you kind of just have to learn how to live with yourself when you don't. And going through that process over a decade of time and just kind of having that muscle exercised within me, it just doesn't scare me anymore. It excites me, but I also feel confident that I will have the instinct to guide, whether it's me physically holding the camera or somebody else. I will be able to guide and instinctually know what comes next. And so do they. I mean, these guys have been doing concerts and they've been doing films like this for quite some time. So we vetted these DPs. We chose them specifically for this reason because of their work and what they excel in. So for me, it's really, I'm trusting in them. But look, it's people and they're a band and, they might sing something wrong or they might, miss something or, these guys are pros, but no matter what type of a pro you are, we're all pros in the room. Yeah, exactly. The power could go out. Someone could, just have a freak out and start cursing for 45 minutes. I don't know. Anything could happen. But, you got to lean into it, I guess, is sort of how I see it. So that's I kind of welcome those experiences because also, too, it's like, let the audience be a part of it. Let them know what's going on. Like, let them, it's all a part of the experience. They know that we're going to be filming. So we'll see. I mean, we also have a couple of days of rehearsal. So we're going to have time to plan it out. We're going to have time to practice. We're going to have time to pace everything and get an idea and a feel for what it's going to look like. And then show night. And whatever happens.
I think
you got to go with it, man.
I think like as your friend watching like what, being able to see sort of like how things have so rapidly sort of taken off for you is just like such a cool thing. And obviously there's a decade plus worth of work that falls into this thing, but I'm sort of curious about your feelings on like the serendipitous nature of life and how, one opportunity begets another opportunity and how like when you're on this cusp of like a monumental career achievement you're about to, embark upon, how that sort of has you reflecting on both the past and then like what your future could look like beyond this. That was a really good question, right? Oh my God.
That was Dude, that was an amazing question. Holy shit. Honestly, I think we should just end the podcast right there. I don't even think I should answer. My God, my answer is not going to be as good as the question. I love how you immediately impressed yourself. You like pulled back from the mic and you were like, "Oh, that was awesome! Way to go, Jay! Way to go!" That was really funny. What was your question?
I don't know. I blacked out.
uh, yeah, so did I, dude. I blacked out. I blacked out in excellence. In in light of your excellence, I blacked out. I I actually, it's beautifully said. However, I have actually thought about this quite a bit. For me personally, like I mean, I'm a spiritual person. I have faith. I believe in God. I was raised Catholic. That has formed and changed, over my adult life. But I have my own personal relationship with that. And for me personally, that is, I've always kind of said, I can't, I, there's a Catholic saying, work like it all depends on you, pray like it all depends on God. Or no, what is it? Yeah, work like it all depends on you, pray like it all depends on God. So it's like I like that saying because it's kind of like, you put in the work, you do everything you possibly can, and then there's going to be a moment where you just have to let go and surrender, and whatever happens, happens, and it's out of your control, it's out of your hands, and it's there's only so much that I can control. There's only so much that I can. There's only so much I can do, I don't know. I've watched, my career from this like outside perspective where I will see myself struggle. I will see, like even starting out and in the middle and even now, I mean, it's like all this kind of stuff, but it's like, I remember those moments of, okay, I've done X amount of jobs. All right, I've been able to pay my rent. I've been able to pay my bills. Now I am back to zero. Now I'm waiting for that other job to come in. Is that other job going to come in? I don't know. And it's like sitting within that commitment of just, are you going to stay here? Are you going to cave? Are you going to leave? Are you going to give up? What are you going to do? And I've been at the brink so many times of wanting to walk away and going, this is too hard. Even though I've had this kind of undeniable purpose within me saying, stick with it, stick with it. This is something that you really need to do. You're not going to be able to live with yourself if you don't do this. And having to kind of recommit to that each time. So that's been, it doesn't get any easier. I thought it would. The more proof that I had, or the bigger projects I got, or the more money I made, or, I thought that would just at some point stop. Then it gets worse.
Yeah. No.
Like, stakes get higher. You know what I mean? It's almost like, whew, we pulled that one off. Where's the next one? Is it going to happen again? I don't know. I mean, there's definitely that whole process with it, but I don't know. For me, I have faith and I surrender when I get scared, and I have to just throw my arms up when I can't control it anymore and go, I have to tell myself, all right, you know what? I've done everything I can possibly do up until this point. It is your job to use your past experiences as your facts. We've been here before. We know something will come up at some point to keep us on this path. If it doesn't, then we'll deal with that when it comes. Yeah. And that's really all you can do.
I think that's an incredibly relatable mantra, because like I sort of feel that way right now. Like I'm going through that, it's the beginning of the year, jobs are sparse, like you get that like, oh boy, here we go again. I'm like in that right now, and I get it, but I do also feel that supreme confidence in myself that it's going to work out and figure itself out. I wonder if that's just like a thing that I often say I've got irrational confidence in myself, and I don't know why. Like if I could bottle it and sell it, I'd be a billionaire and it would just be the greatest thing ever, but that's not how it works, unfortunately. But yeah, it's super relatable. I mean, we're in a field that's incredibly competitive, and you never know if the next job is going to be your last job, or if you do a good job or a bad job, and how that's going to impact the work that you're going to do again in the future. And yeah, I think that's just like incredibly normal and something that everyone feels. Yeah.
I think, everybody goes through that. And I think no matter what your field is, whether you're in a creative field or not, I think there's a part of that, it's like there is no such thing as job security. We've all learned that in COVID. Like there is no such thing as anything as secure. I mean, it's, if you have your loved ones and your health, you are a fucking millionaire. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And I think we've all been slapped in the face with, reprioritizing what matters and what's important, and having respect for other people and thinking of others other than just yourself, and getting some quiet time and some ability to look inward and figure out where you really want to be and what's important. I mean, I think these last couple of years, it's all been forced upon us to do that in one way or another. Some people maybe have taken that opportunity to do that or not. I don't know. But everyone I seem to talk to, it seems to be a common theme. And
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the climate that we're in.
I think you also, I'm 36. I think you also reach an age in life where the important things in your life become incredibly clear, right? It's not like, to what you said, like millions of dollars in the bank. It's like the health of the people and the loved ones that you have around you. And, I'm sure it took this pandemic for a lot of people to get a better, clearer picture of that. But it is the most undeniable fact that,
I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, it's like
fact.
the most undeniable fact that the only thing that really is important in life is, like, can you buy food? Are your family and friends healthy? Like, are the people around you happy? Like, I've eschewed, 6-figure plus career in, corporate America because I just didn't fucking love it anymore. I hated myself. I hated going to work every day.
Yeah.
And when you start going through what the world has gone through the last 2 years, it reprioritizes the things that are important, for sure.
Yeah, and I know that feeling, and I've had corporate America experience as well, and all kinds of jobs and all types of scenarios, and trying to find any way to make it relatable to creative at somehow, and I've been lucky to find a way to do that, but I have had a lot of unique experiences in between to kind of get a taste of all that is out there. And like you, I'm like, okay, I'm choosing to commit to myself. I'm choosing to, I'm choosing this job for myself because this is what makes me the most happy. And I think that's, when it came time for me to kind of make that decision of going, all right, if directing is something I want to do, oh, let's get going because there's no time to waste here. And it's scary in your mid 30s to kind of pick up and sort of change the entire trajectory of your career. And, having over a decade of people looking at me one way and going, this is what she does. This is what she does. We know what she does. And now just kind of switching it up and changing it all together and going, no, this is what I do now. Does that translate? Can we do that? I don't know. And some people are like, yeah, that makes total sense. And some people are like, huh?
Yeah.
It's, and I think that's kind of there's a lot of beauty in that too, because I think those that, aren't getting it or it's not clicking for them or they're not on board, great, get out of the way, make the room so that I can, make room for the people that do see it and do get it so I can keep going.
I think it's
you know what I mean?
It's funny because I think it was roughly around this time last year where we spoke for the first time and you were going back and forth about moving to Nashville, and then like, was it last year? It feels like it could have been 5 years ago. I'm not really sure. But it's like just amazing to kind of see how like things grow and mature for you, that you're like literally on the cusp of this like monumental career achievement. I'm sort of curious how, obviously you've got to get through the next week or two and then however long in post-production, it'll be, weeks, months, whatever it might be. I'm super curious if you've given any thought to what this means for the next chapter of your career beyond, the next couple months.
Yeah, I have given it a lot of thought. I think I'm really hoping that this, as creatives, we need proof, right? We need proof that we've done something to show that we do it. And I think that can be really frustrating at times because for me, I've always felt like a director in all areas of my career. That is all I do all day long. I know it's a skill that I have, and I know it's something that I've done immensely tenfold over and over and over and over again. But there are certain pieces that you need for your book or your reel or whatever to physically show someone, hey, I can direct a feature. Hey, I can direct a commercial. Hey, I can do a music video, and they need to just physically see it. So for me, I'm grateful that and I think also too, when I made this decision to choose directing and let that be the path, I was like, uh-oh, there are certain things that I'm going to need to show that I can do this. And, even though I had those things, there are specific pieces that, you need. So the fact that this opportunity presented itself when it did, again, was one of those moments of, kind of, all hope lost. And then this thing came in and I'm like, okay, it's
Mhm.
choosing me back. So I'm going to continue to choose it. So, yeah, I think what I hope that this does going forward for future is, this will, show people that I can work on this level and this scale. And hopefully more projects like this will come in. Long form narrative will continue, whatever that looks like, whether it's in music videos, concert films, whether it's in a short doc or, a short or a feature that's all, all totally fiction. I mean, who knows? That's the direction, that's the hope. So I'm just trying to, collect my little eggs in my little basket and, proof that I've been on the hunt and hopefully that was funny. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it.
They can't see that because they're only getting hear it, but that's kind of funny. So you should do video. Look at your beautiful face. You
Oh,
should.
thank you.
You should record this.
Yeah. Maybe next time.
Yeah. Maybe,
Although
maybe
we were talking over this weekend when we locked this in, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't record video because I don't want to put that out on the internet. And then it's funny enough, I'm actually modeling for the first time next week, and it's like,
oh my gosh, yeah, you said you were going to model. Okay, explain this. Explain this.
So I think it goes back to the serendipitous nature of life, right? Like we're having this conversation because a girl I met through a girl I used to work with was best friends, right? Caitlin Brooks, who I love to death. This is why we're friends, right? Because of like some random person of a friend of a friend, right? That's how it works. So I was shooting a bunch of concert photography last year for the Wellmont Theater, which is right next to my apartment where I live. And I got some random bands who started following me on Instagram. And this one girl who's in a band was like, hey, like we're playing at Rockwood Music Hall. Can you shoot the show? And I was like, oh, I can't. I'm working a different event that night. But we became Instagram friends. And she's got a clothing line that she's dropping. And she was like on Instagram saying, hey, I need a big burly fucking overweight male model to come help out with a shoot. And are you interested? And I was like, I mean,
that's amazing.
I was like, no, not really. But yeah, so funny enough, next week we're going to be in a studio, and I'm going to be shooting content for them as well. But like, also there's this like, I can't even say it with a straight face and not laugh hysterically. But it's that's life.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
I was like, Big and Tall is going to be knocking on the door and like, fucking Men's Warehouse.
Big and Tall ain't got nothing on you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I think
is next level.
This
is next level.
It goes back to like how I view life, right? It is about the connections that you make with people and how, for me, it's like I want to see everyone in my sphere be successful and be happy, right? And like when you put that sort of mantra out into the world, like opportunities arise, like me being the next, Zoolander. So like I think, that's what happens.
If you say it, it happens.
Yeah, right.
Manifest.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of that word. I'm so sick of that word. Although it's a great word, and I know it's got an important meaning, but I'm sick and tired of that word.
It's overused. I believe in the process of it, and like because I think I'm a component of it, right? Like to some degree, like the shit that I've been manifesting for the last year and a half is starting to come to fruition now, right? Because I manifested it, but like I would love to come up with a different word for it. It is overused and oversaturated for sure. But like when you talk about the hard work that you put in and like the things that you did and the proof of concept, like I've done plenty of free shoots, I've done plenty of shit for free, and like you do things throughout your time to build your opportunities later on in life, and that's sort of where I feel like I'm at now. Hashtag manifesting. Hashtag wrong advice podcast. I'm joking.
Where preparation meets opportunity. Yeah, dude. I mean, fair enough. It's true. It's true. Yeah, it is. It's just an oversaturated word. I also feel like it has a certain connotation at some point where it's like it's like this I create, I. Like it's all like
selfish.
Self-based.
Yeah.
and not so, I mean, maybe selfish isn't the right word, but it's like I think there, yes, there is a level there. To me, it has two, it's like it's missing a step. It's
Hmm.
like it's the conversation we had. It's like, yes, you have to work and prep and prepare and create that vision in order to manifest that thing, to make the room for it. Yes, but then there is that secondary piece that nobody really talks about enough, in my opinion, and it's so heavily weighted in my experience throughout my entire time as a creative and all the sacrifices that I made, which is surrender. And when you do absolutely everything to prepare and sometimes nothing works, then what do you do? Where does that faith come in for you?
Cry.
Where does that trust come in for you? And right, like literally though, I mean, and that's, to me, I think I wish that conversation was had a little bit more, because I think as people enter into this world of creative or continue down their path, it is so important to understand that extra piece that it takes in order to be successful and advance within your own success in your journey in that regard. Because it's not, work hard and it's going to happen,
Hmm.
or
Oh, totally.
put a thousand things in your mind and going, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it. There is so much more involved to create that, and there's also a lot that has to come to you. And it's anyway, that's
I'm
my
with
opinion
you.
of it.
I'm big time with you, and I'm glad you said that because I feel like I'm in that right now where I'm struggling to. So it's like I keep getting the things that I want, right? I'm booking this gig, I'm getting this opportunity, I'm putting
Yep.
this thing, but it's like too few and far between, right? Like I want to be doing so much more and so much higher frequency, and I want to be working 7 days a week
Yeah.
instead of 3 days a week, or 10 times a month instead of whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in
Right.
this very odd in between land where you know,
Hmm.
almost like the master of none, right? Like I've got this podcast, it's doing great, it's
Yeah.
amazing, but like I don't have as many paid photo shoots this month, but I'm doing a music video, but I'm getting published in
Right.
this thing, so it's like it's all very
Right.
chaotic, and it's like you said, it's like to some degree I've got to just like let it come to me and me be accepting of the opportunities and the people and the places and the things that happen, and to me hard work is great and like there's no substitute for hard work, but a lot of what I think is important in terms of building a career for yourself and building a life for yourself is the relationships that you have with people, and those relationships
Hmm.
are what foster the opportunities for you to do things in life, right? Like I think that, to me,
Yeah.
it's just how life is.
I'm I'm 100% on board with that. And yes, very much so. And I think it's actually, it's one of the most important things too, right? It's like cultivating that relationship with yourself and with others, and having that trust and that faith and that loyalty within one another to help and create that next thing is very, very important. And I think also too, it's like my personal experience. I feel like I've had to learn a lot of hard lessons with people when it comes to pushing myself in this direction with my career and what I've always wanted, right? Like there's a lot of people that will come in to create a block, or
Mm.
be the teacher that is more of the challenger, right?
Hmm.
And it's learning how to learn from those people, without totally and completely losing yourself and getting too far off track, right? And learning those lessons and learn how to create the room and learn how to read people and have stronger instinct, and influence over who you allow into your world, and becoming more selective that way. And
Hmm.
really thinking about the people that are actually helping you. And are you helping them? Is there a fulfillment that's happening, or is it just a takeaway? Like
Hmm.
and I think learning how to do that on a personal level is always directly related to how everything else is going, business wise and in creative. It's like I learned that lesson. Business and personal are not separate, because everything I do in my personal life affects what happens in my creative life. And mainly because it's all the same energy that's getting put in. It's all coming from me. So if I'm in a bad spot, or I've got, I'm surrounded by, the wrong people or doing the wrong thing, it's gonna, you'll see it,
Yeah.
I mean, and I had to learn that lesson, I feel like, really early on. And it was kind of scary, because it was like, well, wait a minute, it's like I had to almost get out of this mindset of like, am I being punished, like because I'm trying to learn and explore and expand? Am I being punished, And it's like, no, it's not a punishment. They're all graces and gifts and opportunities to push forward. So
Hmm.
it's just, and you learn a lot and you gain a lot of information. And I feel like now all the people that I'm surrounded by are such incredible people and so positive and so loving. And I feel proud because I feel like I did a lot of work on myself to allow for those people to be there. So it's, I
Yeah.
mean, and that is 100% reflected in, what's been happening with my career, and or at least whatever the hell I'm trying to do. We'll see what
No, I mean,
happens.
I mean, I love that. I think it's very, it's very easy at times to like have like one part of your life being negative on another part. Like if, like for me, I'm single as fuck, so like I could look at that as being like this negative aspect of my.
Single as fuck.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could look at that as like a negative aspect of my life, and I could let that bleed into other things, right? But I've got all this other amazing shit going on in other portions of my life, so I allow it to sort of just like envelop itself in its own place. And I think it's a lot easier said than done, right? You
Yeah,
you you have only so much energy
it
that you can
is.
put out on a daily basis, and we all have good days and bad days for sure. I just think that the lessons that I've learned over
Yeah.
the last 2 years are serving me tremendously in a million different ways that I can have ever realized.
I think it's also timing too, right? Like it's really leaning in and accepting timing. And I think, it's like when I've been single, in long-term relationships, in and out, it's always about timing,
Hmm.
It's always a timing thing. And I think it can be really tough. For me, it was really tough to kind of understand the pacing of why certain people come in, and then they go away, and what, it's like that timing and that pacing can be really, really, really uncomfortable.
Mm.
But
I
has also like been really, important for me to go, okay, well, if you are alone or single or sitting in this and you're uncomfortable in this, can you stand yourself? Can you sit with yourself? Like, can
sometimes.
you? Because how do you expect anybody else to? You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's my answer as well. I'm like, yeah, I'm awesome. I'm pretty cool. I can't stand myself.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a love
but
hate
I think
relationship.
that's also, oh, absolutely. But I also think that's like that is kind of what I've learned within timing and pacing of having, people come in and out. And I think that's, it's in those moments of being able to sit with you, and that can be really tough. But you have all these other amazing things that are happening that are feeding you, and that's creating,
Yeah, I think
that
the
space is getting filled in other ways too.
totally. I think the best lesson that I've learned over the last couple, well, one of the great lessons that I've learned over the last couple years is to be extremely protective of my time, right? Like if I'm going to
Yeah. Oh
go
yeah. Oh
spend
yeah.
an hour, two
Oh
hours
yeah.
to dinner with someone, or if I'm going to go on a 3 or 4 hour shoot, like I'm going to be protective of my time, right? You only get one life to live. You only have, so many days on this earth. I don't want to have regrets in terms of how I allocated the only
How
resource
you
that
spent your
really
time.
matters, right? Yeah. That was been a very, very
Dude,
valuable lesson.
I've Yeah, I think I just learned that lesson this year, actually, in the last 7 or 8 months since we talked last. I just figured that one out. Because my manager, like especially when we were restructuring business, she was just looking at all of these areas of my business and these pockets that were kind of needing some serious attention. And the biggest thing that came to light was really time and like the value of my time,
Hmm.
and like what I would give away or what I would give too much of or what I needed to pull back on, or it was like, we have to restructure this so that your time is valuable and it all is balanced and it makes sense. So, if you're willing to do certain things for certain people at a certain rate, and you decide to do something else for somebody else, how do you make that adjustment, right? Like, if you're going to work with people and negotiate with them based on whatever budget or whatever they can do, and you believe in the project, something you want to do, we can do all of that, but we also have to keep it fair and we have to make it make sense. And so we have to protect your time. We have to make the value your time. Maybe if they don't have, as much of this, then they get less of this. Whether it's number of images or, how long the video gets to be or how many hours they get you. You know what I mean? It's like, there are always ways to scale your time within that value, not just monetarily. And I think that's, because there are real projects that will come around and that it's worth more than maybe what somebody might be offering. And you're trying to keep your standard at a certain level. But if it's something you really want to do and it's going to advance you, or you can use it to help your big picture, that's how you can that's how you can justify it,
That's like
with the amount of hours somebody gets you or what they get,
Isn't that like the catch-22 of like being a creative? Like, you work your entire life to get to a certain level, and then you like start making sort of exceptions to things because you want to do something else. Yeah. So like, I'm directing a music video. I think I'm getting paid very fairly for the fact that I've never done it before. I know they're also paying significantly less than if they hired Taylor Ballantyne, right? You know what I mean? So like, that to me is like where you have an opportunity, you being me, I have an opportunity to do something for a proof of concept that I can then do again later. I think it is just a very funny sort of, catch-22 of the creative life that I'm learning about.
Oh, it is. It is. It's a big lesson. And and it's not, and there's certain pieces of it that really are not, there are a lot of people that, there's a handful of people that I mentor, and help develop their business and, educate them, trying to pay it forward.
Dude, I love that. How are we just hearing about this?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I do this. I do this for some people. I also actually recently just started working with Summit Workshop, which is an incredible program. It's been around for quite some time. And it's an amazing photography workshop, and they're expanding in all of these incredible ways. And I started doing in-person workshops with them. And then I also am going to be doing some online courses. So that's really
awesome.
exciting.
I love that.
Yeah, I'll fill you in on all of it. And in fact, you should, check it out, because I taught my first in-person workshop this past August and in Denver, and it was so unbelievable. It was a lighting workshop that I taught at for about 5 days, and really intensive program. I actually wish this program existed, or more things like this existed when I was starting out, because I would have signed up for this stuff to sharpen on specific things. This is like a trade school on wheels. It's amazing. And
so cool.
They set up unbelievable experiences for people that participate. The workshops are incredible. The faculty that participates in the workshops are just extraordinary, and they really create an incredible experience for people to learn, and it's amazing. But I learned so much when I did it. So like, I was teaching at this lighting workshop, but I ended up I was like, oh yeah, that's how you do that. like there are so many things that have become instinctually to me, but when you actually have to explain it to someone,
you can't.
It's like it's like, have you ever tried to help a kid out with their math homework, and it's like 5th grade math homework, and you're like, well, yeah, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? It's and you're like, how do I? You secretly are like, how did I not know what the fuck 2 + 2 was?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like, you can't. It's kind of hard. Anyhow, that's something that I've noticed for me is there was so much. Once I had to explain it to somebody and break it down in simple terms, it just reaffirmed and re-upped, technical knowledge that I needed. So it was extremely helpful. But I do this, and it is really, really fun. And
That's
some
so
of the
cool.
people that I do mentor, we get into this conversation a lot, which is, when it comes time to uh, balance and advance career and set your rates and your values, and, why am I, when do I do that thing for free to create the opportunity to get something in my book to do this without it undervaluing or undercutting everything that I've already done, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that is such a conversation that I think we've, you know, and there's two things. Not everything is, there are other things that are working against us as creatives that I think are larger issues in the industry, that need to be corrected. And I do believe that a lot of creatives are not, um, they're undervalued. And I think as far as rates go, and that's a whole other conversation
Yeah.
for another time, but I believe that there is a lot within this industry that has to be corrected and balanced out, because creatives really, especially in the camera world, and starting out, we have it tough, man. We have it really tough, when it comes to balance and properly paying creatives for what they're worth. And I think because a lot of that is so accessible, and there are a lot of young people that don't actually know how to budget and price themselves out appropriately, it's giving people the wrong interpretation of what something actually costs. And
Yeah.
then it's hurting us who have been doing it for a really long time. And
Mm-hmm.
so part of the reason for me to mentor is to educate and help them understand, listen, when it comes to pricing a headshot, here are all the things that you need to, here are all the things that you need to think about,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot that's not being thought about. And when it comes to investing in your equipment, investing in insurance to protect yourself, when it comes to opening up your own business, when it comes to the time that you spend editing and post production and sending files to people, that is all time and value that needs to be assigned some sort of monetary number. It has to be assigned
Sure.
because it's a part of,
The process.
everything. it's
Yeah.
it's helping educate people the process of what all goes into this, because I've had this experience too many times in my life where it's like I run around with my head cut off and I do all this work and somehow still can't pay my bills, or I got to wait 30 to 90 days for a check to come in. And
A litany of things.
there's a whole other part of the industry that I think there is a larger conversation that I would like to have at some point about what there are some big changes that can be made on that there are a lot of forces that work against us that we have to learn how to adapt to. And
Yeah. Well, I
I
think
think those
because
things need to be addressed and called out.
yeah, I think because so like my cheat code is that because it came from like a practical experience in corporate America and doing sales and like a million other things before getting into the creative career. I price myself expensive as fuck because I want to work smarter and not harder. And I think a lot of times people who are in this creative career just want to work a lot and they'll be able to give things away because they just want to get the job and get the money coming in, and they don't think about things long term and the practical
Correct.
aspect of it financially. But I think that's so
Correct.
fucking cool that you're doing that. You're like this badass mentor, feature director, fucking gangster. It's so
Damn.
awesome.
I like the way you make me sound. In my head, it doesn't sound like that, but I appreciate that very much.
That's imposter syndrome.
Um, you made me sound great. Yeah, that is imposter syndrome, boy.
Taylor,
That is true.
I
That
mean,
is a real thing.
I'm just so proud of you. I think you're just such the most wonderful fucking human being that I've had the privilege of
Dude,
having
you're
in my
so
life,
awesome.
and
Thank
I'm
you.
just a huge fan of yours, and I love you a lot, and I'm super excited for this incredible opportunity that I know you're going to crush. And as always, the time that you've given me is appreciative and wonderful, and I think you're just such a tremendously awesome human being, and thanks for coming on again. I love you.
Well, I love you too. Thank you so much. You're just incredible and wonderful, and I love your podcast, and I love the time that you give to me. It's very, very wonderful, and I'm so excited for you. You're gonna crush this music video, man. And
Thanks.
hey, if you need
A mentor.
if you need to work anything out in your head, shoot me a text. I mean, there's a whole bunch of. I mean, I just did my first one not too long ago, so I'm in the boat of firsts on a lot of this stuff too. And sometimes it just helps to like talk some things out that start to not make any sense.
Well, I'm absolutely going to take you up on that. And yeah, I love you. Take
By
care.
the way, music videos are mini movies, so
I'm a feature.
you're that's all right. Thank you so much, man.
Take care.